I'm really excited to dive the Celeb because it's going to be by far the oldest wreck that I've ever been on.
So basically, she fired every shot she had.
It's a very prestigious, exclusive dive.
Harvey told me I'm not allowed to hunt for treasure.
This is definitely a cool bucket list item.
I noticed that I'm shivering.
Shooting at us! Shooting at us! I am dying to go for this dive.
Previously on Jump In.
Sarah, Jen, April, and I are headed back to Cape Breton for an adventure of diving with Harvey.
So Louisburg is a very small town in Cape Breton.
It seemed that the fortress was the main attraction.
I've reached out, made a few phone calls, talked to a few folks, and I've got us a little behind-the-scenes look at what most people don't get to see. We're going to be going diving the Celeb.
Amazing. Thanks, Harvey.
The Celeb is the oldest wreck that I'll ever dive. It's right outside of the fortress, which is really cool.
It really was a natural start to go and check out the fortress.
So we saw all these old buildings of the time. We saw these characters who were dressed up like people. We were hanging out with these women. They had these giant skirts on.
Harvey said that he has a surprise, and when Harvey has a surprise, that means it's something big. Harvey had gotten us like a VIP pass and had taken us so we could actually go see the archives and the artifacts and everything that was found from these shipwrecks and from this fortress.
Welcome to the Fortress of Louisburg. Here in this building, we house our archaeology collection.
And of course, the artifacts that we were the most excited to see were some of the cannons.
This is the anchor from the Celeb. If you look closely, though, it's half broken off on the bottom.
Wow.
I love it.
Thank you.
Thank you, friends.
So we've made it to Cape Breton. We met up with Harvey and figured out a plan for the dive. We toured the Fortress of Louisburg and even got a behind-the-scenes tour of the archives. Now it's finally time for us to go dive on the wreck.
So we're gearing up for the dive. We're at our vehicles, getting everything set up. We're headed over to the boat. And in the distance, you can see the fortress right there. We're on the water, we know where we're headed, and we're all getting pretty excited.
After a day of learning about this amazing history and getting to have these behind-the-scenes tours and seeing some of these artifacts, especially seeing the anchors and the cannons from the ship, I mean, it just made us so excited to finally get in the water. That was really what the day was leading towards. And so finally, when it was time to board our lobster fishing boat and head across the harbor down to the boat, we were all just so excited to be heading out.
I am dying to go for this dive.
We are diving the Celeb today. Pardon my lack of French accent. So we were here about a year ago with Harvey, and we got to do a few really cool dives in Cape Breton. And he was telling us at the time that he had mapped all the wrecks in the Louisburg Harbor here, and at the time I remember thinking, wow, that's so cool. But I know he mentioned that they're all very restricted, and you need a permit because it's all of a historic site. And this year we've up-leveled, and Harvey is just the best, and he's renewed his permit and gotten us access to be able to dive the Celeb today. So it's a very prestigious, exclusive dive, so I'm very excited.
This is definitely a cool bucket list item, and it's something that I may never get to do again. This might be my one and only dive here in Louisburg Harbor, so I'm pretty excited about it.
This is my new suit. I've only dove in her like 3 times, so she's still brand spanking new. She's beautiful. She's got 2 pockets, 2 big, deep pockets. I've always I've always wanted pockets. I'm so grateful to Harvey for planning this whole day for us. He really went above and beyond. He planned it all. He not only got us access and permits to be able to dive this shipwreck, he spent all week cleaning it up and getting it ready for us.
He's really the person in charge of Cape Breton diving. When somebody thinks of diving in Cape Breton, they think of Harvey. So he's kind of your right-hand man up there. He has so much experience. He's a phenomenal diver. He's also an instructor, so he's a wealth of knowledge, but he is a stand-up guy.
We were really, really lucky and privileged and honored to dive this one with Harvey.
It is such a pleasure to be able to have access to the shipwrecks in the Louisburg Harbor that you need special permission to be able to dive in.
It wasn't easy to get this, right? It took some work, so I had to approach parks, tell them the situation.
I'm really fortunate in regard that I do have a good working relationship with Parks Canada folks. It is a World Heritage Site, so what I tend to do is keep an eye on the wrecks and do a monitoring program on them. So I'll go in every year and spend some time clearing the year of growth of kelp and smaller marine growth on there as well, and just do an overall site survey of the site.
So having said that, nothing that's not on your person going in the water comes out of the water. I'm looking you right in the eyes, Jennifer Meisner. Right? No, serious.
Yeah, I wouldn't touch it, I promise.
Everything on the site is mapped, documented. We know where everything's at.
Harvey told me I'm not allowed to hunt for treasure. I'm not allowed to touch anything. I have to be in a protected area because we have special permission, and I have to obey Harvey or he'll never take me diving again. So everywhere that we were at, that we steamed out to on the boat, you could see the fortress. There was no escaping that this was part of Louisburg. It was probably one of the coolest things I think I've ever done, to go and see this wreck and go out on the boat.
We are just leaving the harbor in Louisburg right now, and I think the wreck we're going to, the Celeb, is closer to the mouth of the harbor. Then we're gonna do our dive site briefing and get on it and jump in.
And jumping?
We got on a boat to steam out to the wreck, and it was just kind of peeked on the other side of the harbor across from the fortress. So as we steamed out, you could start to see the fortress in the distance, start to see the silhouette make an appearance.
Yeah, that's what we're doing.
Going out on the boat to the other side of the harbor, there was so much anticipation running through my head. Not only was this the oldest shipwreck that I've ever dove, it was the first time I got to dive with Harvey in a long time. I was in my new dry suit. It's so fun when the gang and I can get together and dive anywhere, and it's so special for us to share these moments together. And we've experienced so many new things together, and it just brings us closer every time. And we were all just like on the edge of our seats, so excited for the day to come. It was also a beautiful day, very low wind. The water was so calm. It was sunny. We were all just so looking forward to finally jumping in and seeing what was below the surface waiting for us.
I'm really excited to dive the Celeb. We travel the world to go dive shipwrecks. So to then go to Cape Breton, of all places, and dive by far the oldest wreck that I've ever been on, that's just so exciting to me.
The town was originally settled by the French in 1713, and it was a major hub, so to speak, for Eastern Canada. At that time, it was the fourth busiest port behind Boston, New York, and Philadelphia. So it was kind of France's crowning jewel and their guarding point for the St. Lawrence. The Celeb, it was a French ship, and it was charged with, defending the fortress, of course. Unfortunately, due to its size, it was kind of a sitting duck in Louisburg Harbor. So she was tied up alongside two other ships, and they were all coming under fire from the British cannons, which were all around the harbor. But there was a mortar shell that came from the lighthouse area, which is probably about a mile away, struck the Celeb, which of course caught it on fire. It then in turn caught the Entrepreneur Capriccio on fire. They drifted away up towards the southwest end of the harbor, and that's where they sank. The Celeb, she continued to burn, but she blew up. Once the fire reached the powder magazine, blew the stern right off it, and down it went. So that's where she sits today, and she was discovered in the early 60s.
Before this morning, I had never been to the fort before, and now it's my first time seeing it from the water, and I have to say, it's quite spectacular, isn't it? Isn't it?
It kind of looks fake. Like it's so...
Like a postcard?
It doesn't look like it belongs here
Did you
because
think
it's
it
a
would be
moment
bigger?
in history from so long ago.
Welcome to the Sleb.
Briefing time!
The Sleb was a third-rate ship of the French fleet, built in Brest, France in 1754. It met its end right here in Louisbourg in 1758, July 21st. So it was hit with cannon fire from the lighthouse point over there. So it was a nice shot.
That's a distance.
That is a nice little distance, yeah, especially for back in the day. 32 cannons still on the site. So we are going to enter the wreck right here in the bow.
So in our pre-dive briefing, Harvey pulled out another map of the Celeb. It was the same one that we saw in the archives. And he kind of, again, outlined everything of where we were gonna go and what we were gonna do. Really important thing is this is a World Heritage Site. So you can't touch anything, you cannot go on the bottom, you can't kick up any silt. So our buoyancy had to be top-notch and keep everything basically from being disturbed as if we had never been there.
So we're going to, first dive, we're going to look and we'll do a site overview, right? So we'll just get a rough idea of the site. It won't take us very long to swim the length of the wreck. I'll take us down the starboard side, then we'll just come back up the port side, and that'll be first dive.
Harvey made sure to tell us not to touch anything. You know, the treasure hunter in all of us, or I should say maybe the treasure hunter in Jen, probably wanted to take a cannonball, but we knew that wasn't the right move.
Are we gonna see any like loose cannons down there, or cannonballs, or anything like that?
Why are you asking?
I'll be there.
I'm not. They're too heavy to carry. I can't
So
take them.
this vessel would have had a combination of 24-pound guns on the lower deck, and on the upper deck would have been 12-pound.
Wow.
So second dive, we'll look at the more intricate details of the wreck. The cannons, the cannonballs, the bricks from the galley, the copper sheathing, the bronze working tube, one of the two bronze working tubes, which is how they identified this wreck. The other bronze working tube is in the Maritime Museum up in Halifax on display up there. So there's still 32 cannons left on this wreck. The rest of them are all around North America. I believe there's some in Toronto. I think there might be a couple in Halifax. And I have some flashcards. I'll point out what we're looking at. There's no cannonballs in the shot locker. Make a note of that, but you can very easily see the outline of the shot locker. So basically, she fired every shot she had. This vessel would have been 45 meters long, roughly 150 feet long, with a crew of over 500.
Wow.
That's a lot of people in a small area, you know.
Yeah.
So when you're down there, just try to picture in your mind the horror that these guys must have been going through back then. I mean, there probably was still at least 400 people on this thing when it caught fire, and
Wow.
boom. So I'm sure it wasn't pretty. So that was July 21st, 1758. That's when this went down. So it's pretty much been sitting in that place. Now there is a lot of lobsters down there, so, and they're feisty. So let's try not to mess with them too much. You'll also see the darker areas where the lobsters have been doing their own excavation. You know, I don't know if they're following any provincial rules or not, but they're
Making their own traps.
They're making their own traps. Right? It's going to be a fun dive.
I'm excited.
I'm so excited.
All right.
Let's
Everybody
go.
cool with that? All right.
Let's do it!
Fireworks?
They're
shooting at us.
They're shooting at us.
We're under fire.
And we're done.
Everybody good?
Yeah.
Okay, down we go.
we did a survey for our first dive. So what we did was we actually went, and Harvey had these flashcards that he would actually show us under the water so we could know what things are. A wreck from 1758, you're lucky the whole thing's not deteriorated. So for us, it was really good that he had these cards because he could point out different items to us and tell us what they were. And I just go around, and that's what we did. For the first dive, we just did a survey of the area.
I just found in the past it's a little bit easier to just show the flashcard and point, and then they know immediately what they're looking at. Because I'm used to the wreck. I have hundreds of dives on it. I don't expect somebody coming from away to have, you know, to look at this glob of green stuff and know that it used to be a coil of rope, but this is now it in its current state. I just said, well, you know what, maybe flashcards would help, because I know it would help me.
As we were on the first dive underwater, I noticed that I was getting a little bit chilly. And that should not have been the case because it was a beautiful sunny day outside in August and the water was like 18 degrees, which is very warm here for Nova Scotia. I should not have been cold.
We're down there on dive 1. Everybody's happy, everyone's given us the okay. And then we get to the surface and Sarah is freezing to death because her dry suit has become a wetsuit.
I'm like absolutely drenched. Oh no! Yeah. I thought you were happy. Like flooded. Oh no, I should have brought my wetsuit on. I have my wetsuit if you want to use it. It's coming through
Everywhere.
Once we surfaced and we were all on the surface just kind of having a chat about how cool the dive was, I noticed that I'm shivering and I feel my dry suit has leaked somewhere. But at this point, I can't really identify where the leak has come from because it wasn't very clear where the water was coming in. But I do know one thing for sure, I'm shivering on a warm, sunny August day, and that should not be the case.
When it comes to a dry suit leak, there are a lot of factors. It could be your neck seal, it could be your wrist seals. You may have gotten a little pinhole somewhere. Really, the only way to know is to do a proper leak test.
Harvey was really great about it. He said, like, you don't have to do the second dive, or the second you get cold, let me know and we'll end the dive. And obviously, I'm all about being safe and I'm not gonna put myself at risk, but I'm also not gonna not dive this amazing shipwreck. So I just decided to be strong and suck it up a little bit. If you leak and get wet in your dry suit in February, then you are like borderline at risk of hypothermia. Like, you really have to take that seriously. But on a warm, sunny August day, you could just suck it up a little bit. It's fine.
The first dive was amazing. You know, with this group in the water, it makes my job so easy, right? They're so skilled and careful of the site. It's perfect. You know, makes everything so nice. So we did a nice quick overview of the site. And now we're going to go back in and have a look at some cannons.
Yeah.
Cannon!
Cannon!
Our second dive on the Celeb was all about the cannons, which is what I was there for. I was very excited to see these cannons. Before we saw the cannons underwater, we got to see them on the surface, which was really cool. And it helped us kind of identify them once we got under, but I couldn't get over how many there was. I think there was 33 cannons, which is crazy.
And I just kept going from cannon to cannon to cannon to cannon to cannon, because they were everywhere.
Harvey mentioned that he had to spend about a week before we came to prepare the wreck for us to even go and dive it. He said it was completely covered in seaweed, covered in kelp. And so he had to go and trim all of the kelp so that we could even see this wreck. He mentioned that if he hadn't gone and removed the kelp, then we might not have even seen the wreck. It was kind of cool to see the holdfast of the kelp sticking out here and there, attached to metal, attached to rock, because I knew that Harvey's love went into cutting all that kelp out of our way. Harvey intentionally left a portion of the boat covered in kelp so we could see that before and after of what it looked like naturally versus of what the shipwreck looked like cleared.
It's also really nice to know that Harvey trusts us enough to dive with him in that environment, because that is something that he would take great pride in, and just to keep that area clean and preserved, and the artifacts that are there to maintain them. So I think for myself, I feel extremely privileged and honored that I was able to go dive with Harvey.
We dove this wreck so slowly, just to make sure that nobody banged into each other or we kicked something by accident. As you're gearing up for this dive, you just know how important it is to stay off the bottom, stay very streamlined, stay as still as you can, because if your fin were to touch something, you could break it. And, you know, as divers, we always say, take only pictures, leave only bubbles. And that was so crucial on this dive. It was nice knowing that Harvey would trust us as divers to take us on this wreck, because he trusts our skill and our ability to not touch the bottom. So that felt really good. I guess we passed Harvey's test.
My favorite part about the second dive was looking in all of the cannons and seeing how lobsters have made them their habitat. Pretty much every single hole we looked through had a little lobster sitting inside. And I mean, I love wildlife, so the wreck was cool, but the lobsters making use of artificial habitats like a cannon was even sweeter.
The second that we all surfaced, we were all just tickled pink and so in awe at the shipwreck that we had just gotten to explore.
Wow! The Celeb was definitely the oldest wreck that I have ever dove. I mean, it's from 1758. And I really have to say that I really appreciated it and felt honored that I did get to dive it, because I don't know of anybody else that's ever dove this wreck. And we know quite a few divers. When I tell somebody that I actually dove there, they're just in awe. They're all just like, holy cow, like, how did you get the permit? You can never get permits for that. And I'm like, it's all in who you know.
Not raving about the new dry suit at the moment.
Sarah got to the surface. She was definitely a little bit wet.
The second dive, I was a little bit chilly, but also I was just so consumed by the wreck in front of us and how cool this dive was that I really wasn't focused on how cold I was. But that was a super cool dive. Hey, like the cannons are so cool. There's just everywhere, and there's little lobsters living in them. I could tell that Harvey was really proud and excited to be the one to be able to show us. I mean, these shipwrecks are in his own backyard. He's from Lewisburg and he lives there, and he doesn't take people to explore them very often. It was nice for me to see how much it meant for him to be able to share that with us.
I like the cannons. That was definitely my favorite part.
No, you know what? The real treasure down there was diving with Harvey and having the experience of the wreck. That was the real treasure.
I do feel that they very much enjoyed the dives, and that made me feel very good that they actually enjoyed it. It's awesome. I'm looking forward to sharing more of our sights in Cape Breton with them.
Sarah, Jen, April, and I have now traveled the world together and gone to so many different dive locations in the Caribbean, in the Red Sea, and there's so many more adventures to come. But there's something really special about exploring what's just in our own backyard. So to get the opportunity to explore all of that and to really dive into our country's history is really special.
It's why we do it, right? We dive and we go on these adventures to make great memories with our friends, and there's no one else I would rather do these dives with.